This changed everything for the Golden State Warriors. As you all know, the Warriors recently lost to the Denver Nuggets 112-110, and it actually has put them in 6th place, but they are currently one loss away from getting into the 9th place and put them in jeopardy of being out of the play-ins. So in today's video, we're going to be going through 5 things that the Golden State Warriors need to fix in time in order to make the playoffs and win another NBA championship. So make sure to like this video, and guys, 92% of you are still not subscribed to the channel, so it'd mean the world if you could subscribe to the channel, hitting that red button down below. The first is Andrew Wiggins needs to come back to the Golden State Warriors. As you all know, losing Andrew Wiggins so far this season has been definitely a huge blow for the Golden State Warriors in all different ways, whether it's offense or whether it's defense. If we look at Andrew Wiggins so far this season, he has been averaging 17 points, 5 rebounds, and also 2.3 assists. And if you put all his stats compared to other players in the Golden State Warriors, at the time where he was at his peak, he was actually the 3rd leading scorer for this team. He was also 2nd leading rebounder, 3rd leading assist person, and also ranked 2nd in steals and 1st in blocks. So it definitely does show that losing someone like Andrew Wiggins has definitely taken a hit for this Golden State Warriors team, not only on just offense but on defense as well. Now don't get me wrong, Dante DiVincenzo has done a fantastic job, but it would honestly even make this team better if Andrew Wiggins came back. Now it has been rumored that Wiggins has been working out with the team here and there, and also doing solo workouts at the Golden State Warriors headquarters. So it does look like good signs that we may see Andrew Wiggins back in playoff picture, and we may see him also play if they make it all the way to the NBA Finals. So it will be exciting to see if Andrew Wiggins does come back. But when it comes to what this Golden State Warriors team, they definitely need another defender, but also someone that can score. Now DiVincenzo has done a fantastic job being able to fulfill that position, but then it opens up a gap for the bench or also the 2nd unit, because Dante DiVincenzo is no longer in that 2nd unit as well. So Jordan Poole is pretty much left by himself with the 2nd unit to figure out what to do on offense and also on defense as well. So I honestly do think having Wiggins back would honestly move DiVincenzo back into the 2nd unit, which may be sad for DiVincenzo. However, it would be great for the overall team. I think they even become more dangerous as a whole because they got so many players, not only just in the 1st unit but the 2nd unit as well, who can do damage both on offense and also defense as well. But Wiggins has been so underrated for this Golden State Warriors team. People do not really know just how valuable he is to this roster. If we look at Wiggins also last season, especially in the NBA Finals, he was actually ranked 2nd in MVP Finals ranking. So I do think he definitely deserves the credit where credit is due, because Andrew Wiggins can definitely help and break this team into something special. They definitely are there, and the Golden State Warriors at times, especially when they lose, only lose by a span of around 5 to 10 points a game. So when it does happen, I do think having someone like Wiggins out there to get you a couple of stops, to get you where you need to be, and to have players such as Steph Curry, Klay Thompson just focus on scoring rather than focusing on defense, really does cause a lot of difference when it comes to the offense and defense for this Warriors roster. So it's a little intangible things that Wiggins does that really has a ripple effect on all the other players and also the play style that they go for. And I do think it is important because Wiggins being the 3rd leading scorer at the time when Wiggins was at his peak for this season, I do think it's definitely hard to see someone like that go, where he was giving you 17.1 points per game on a regular nightly basis. The second is Klay Thompson needs to start playing more consistent for the Golden State Warriors. Now don't get me wrong, when Steph Curry was gone, Klay Thompson did a fantastic job to keep the Golden State Warriors alive and stay in the playoff picture. However, ever since Steph Curry has come back, it has definitely been more inconsistency when it comes to Klay Thompson, not only in just scoring but also in all facets of offense and defense. If we look at some of the most recent games ever since Steph Curry has come back, he's had some pretty abysmal games which are honestly not to talk about. He had this one game against the Dallas Mavericks where he only had 9 points while also taking 9 shots as well. He had another game where he shot 29% from the field overall, and he also scored 15 points in that matchup, but also shot 29%. He had another game, even in the most recent one, where he shot 32% against Denver Nuggets, but he still did drop 25 points. So although he is putting up some numbers where it is above 20, maybe 25 points, he's shooting it at a very poor percentage. And this is something Klay Thompson definitely needs to work on, and something that a lot of people are saying is the biggest issue with Klay Thompson ever since his major injuries. When Klay Thompson was back, in his peak days of 2015, 2016, in Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson was an absolute bucket and was super consistent, and was sometimes even more consistent at Steph Curry at the time, and a lot of NBA fans thought that. Now it has completely changed, because ever since Klay Thompson's major injuries, it has been hard for him to string a lot of games together where he can give you 15, 20, 25 points and shoot a very good percentage on any given night. So this is something he definitely needs to work on, and I think is the main focus for Klay Thompson when it comes into playoff time. They're definitely going to need them, especially if Klay Thompson is going to be by himself without Andrew Wiggins there beside him. And I do think if Wiggins is going to be out, Klay Thompson is going to have to step up as a scorer and become the main or second main guy for that starting five. So he really has to support Steph Curry in that supporting role, and I think he has done a fantastic job so far, do not get me wrong, but the consistency definitely needs to change if they want to continue. There are also other games to look at. He had the most recent game against Clippers where he only had 15 points and also shot 36% from the field as well. So they aren't terrible. However, I do think it definitely needs a lot more improvement if they want to actually win games. And that's one of the biggest reasons why they actually lost this most recent game against Denver. They had a very poor shooting performance, both Steph and Klay. And if Steph is off and Klay is off at the same time, then it's not going to be looking good. And Denver Nuggets also didn't have Nikola Jokic, and they were able to get the job done and still get the win. So this is going to be very important, especially when it comes playoff time. You really don't have that much margin for error. So it's very important for someone like Klay Thompson to continue to play at a high level and do it on a consistent basis, day in and also day out. The third is Draymond Green needs to become more of a scorer. Now I think this is something that is very important, but when it comes to Draymond Green, although he isn't really much of a scorer, he definitely needs to start being more of a scorer, especially when it comes playoff time. I think the reason why this is so important is because we have seen it happen time and time again, and Draymond Green actually did it himself to Russell Westbrook, where when he's not really that much of a threat on offense, a lot of teams just tend to sag off and focus on the other players. So for this case, it would be Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, even Jordan Poole if he was coming off the bench. So I think that's one of the reasons why Draymond Green needs to really develop a consistent three-point shot, mid-range shot, just something to really cause a lot of havoc when it comes on offense, and it has defenders actually committing to him. If he always looks to pass and always looks to make the pass to Steph or Klay, it becomes very obvious, and a lot of teams know how to play that and know how to play that properly in order to get by. So that's why I think it is very important. And on top of that, guys, with Andrew Wiggins out, and I know we always go back to Andrew Wiggins, but with him out, there needs to be more scorers out there. You can't expect Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, if they're averaging, let's say, 30, 25 points per game, you can't expect them just to add another 5 to 10 points now that Andrew Wiggins is out. It gets very difficult to shoot that high of a percentage and shoot that consistently for that many shots. And I think that's why it's important for other role players or even smaller players on the offensive side to start getting bigger roles. You've seen DiVincenzo do this very well in the most recent game against Denver. He had 18 points. Kevon Looney needs to start scoring more. He only had 6 points in the most recent game against Denver Nuggets. And also now Draymond Green. Draymond Green in the most recent game against Denver Nuggets only had 4 points, and he went 2 from 7 and 0 from 1 from the 3. So this is why this is so important to see that, and to always see that Draymond Green needs to continue to focus and become more of a scorer, so that it causes a lot more problems for the defense. If he always looks to pass, then they're going to continue to focus on Steph, on Klay, double teaming, maybe even triple teaming at times, and that's when it becomes very difficult for Golden State Warriors to score. So he's definitely going to need to work on that. And if we look at the most recent games, he hasn't been shooting very much as of recent, but I do think that definitely needs to change. In the most recent game against the Spurs, he only had 4 points. A most recent game against Pelicans, he only had 8. He had another game against Houston where he only had 8 points as well. So guys, this is honestly something he definitely needs to work on and continue to work on, because I do think if Draymond Green can give you 10 to 15 points a night, we can definitely win a lot more games. Not just only in the regular season, but in the playoffs as well. And it'll definitely be very interesting to see how they go, especially for the future. The fourth is that Gary Payton II needs to play the way he played last season. As you all know, Golden State Warriors actually let go of Gary Payton II, where he went to the Portland Trail Blazers to sign. However, Golden State Warriors did not like losing him, and they decided to trade back for him, and now he is back with the Golden State Warriors. And as great as it is to have him back, he hasn't been playing the same way he he did play last season, especially in the championship year. If we look at the most recent stats, if we look at also his stats from before, you definitely see a huge discrepancy between the two. Last season, he was actually averaging 7.1 points, 3.5 rebounds, 0.9 assists, and also 1.4 steals. Now, Gary Payton wasn't really the main scorer or anything like that, but what he provided on defense was so much more and really did help the Golden State Warriors win another NBA title. Now, if we look at his stats so far this season with the Golden State Warriors, now he has only played 4 games, so cut him a little bit of slack. However, he's been only averaging 4.5 points, also 3 rebounds, and also 0.8 assists and 0.5 steals. So there's definitely a huge discrepancy in some of the stats, especially when it comes to rebounds. He's off by 0.5. Also, his steals is completely one below his steals last season, and then also points are cut in half. So you definitely see a huge difference within the two. I think that's something that is very important when it comes to Gary Payton II and what he needs to bring for this second unit. It's definitely different when it's not having Andrew Wiggins around anymore, and also some other players such as Otto Porter and JTA, but I do think Gary Payton II can still provide a lot and will still provide a lot for this team, especially when it comes to the defensive end of things. The fifth is that the Golden State Warriors need to stop running small balls so much. I honestly do think this is actually hurting the Golden State Warriors, but running small ball, especially against teams like the Denver Nuggets, who are a great rebounding team and have a lot of tall players, definitely causes a lot of problems for the Warriors, especially when it comes to the rebounding side of things, and also just other players such as Steph, Klay Thompson getting open. So I do think it is very important to have big men on there because they cause a lot of havoc and also cause a lot of problems for the offense, and I do think it is great to have a rim protector in there. But we saw in the most recent game against the Denver Nuggets, Kevon Looney actually only played 27 minutes. He actually had the least amount of minutes out of all starting 5, and he actually had 10 minutes less. And I do think if Kevon Looney was out there, even though he is a little bit slower, could definitely have helped this team, especially with the defensive presence and rim protection that he brings. So I think it's very important to have someone like Kevon Looney out there. I think Steve Kerr, although he is a great coach, I definitely do think they need to run a bit of tall ball at times and run small ball at times as well, instead of going all in on small ball.